Hello all of you beautiful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com. And today, much like when my parents predicted that I would grow up to be either a bank manager or the Pope, I am here to talk about things that didn't turn out quite how everyone expected. I'm deadly serious about that tale, by the way. Honestly, what the hell were they thinking? Yes, the games on today's list took everyone by surprise when they released, and they all managed to do so in pretty unique ways. Sometimes it was the mismarketing of a studio or the promises of a developer that simply couldn't match up. And in some instances, well, thanks to some cleverly placed twists and turns, it knocked everyone on their asses. So let's take a look at the games which shocked, stunned, and quite possibly stunk up the place. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games that turned out nothing like you were expecting. Number 8, Star Fox Adventures. It's been a rough old time for Star Fox fans, as after getting the exceptional SNES original and the rather outstanding N64 installment, it was a long old wait before players could take to the furthest reaches of space once more. Yet, in the build-up to Nintendo releasing their GameCube console, Shigeru Miyamoto began teasing that our favourite spacefaring furries would be coming back as a launch title for the little purple powerhouse. The marketing seemed to be driven at showing off a ton of space battles and emphasized just how slick all of this would look with the new graphics. It even boasted on-foot missions as well, adding in another layer to the experience. Yet, when the game actually dropped in 2002, it turned out to be a game that no one was expecting and, to be honest, very few people actually wanted. For a start, the game barely features any space combat at all and is instead nearly always on foot. Now true, there are some vehicle sections, but these are limited to weird hoverbike moments that are at once very short and still manage to overstay their welcome. Plus, the plot was absolutely nuts, and not in a good way, seeing you rescue and then battle dinosaurs that all spoke in absolute gibberish, and the game used a combat system that promised to be deep and layered, but boiled down to watching a fox twat reptiles with a staff while cycling through all of 3 oof noises. It was bad times for all. Oh well, at least Star Fox Zero managed to... Nah, never mind. It's too soon. Number 7, No More Heroes Travis Strikes Back. The No More Heroes games are something of an oddity that I really don't feel get enough love, as somehow they are both an indulgent and over-the-top look on gore and beam saber combat, but are also a critique on the nature of violence as gratification. I even wrote an essay on it a while back that one day I will make into a video, I promise, I swear, I promise. With 2 games back-to-back, the franchise had built a reputation on delivering intense action, over-sexualized encounters, and a worrying amount of time watching a man power up his sword by, well, wanking it. Therefore, when the man with the semblance of a plan, Suda51, announced a follow-up game titled No More Heroes Travis Strikes Back, fans the world over cried out in joy. But it seemed like this title was aiming to be more of a bad girl than it let on, because this wasn't some sort of layered meta-narrative about the terrible things people do for fun, but was instead an isometric twin-stick arcade game that has shallow gameplay that was about as equal to that of the plot. It was such a shame to feel like the game was phoning it in, and while having an interesting idea of being stuck inside a video game, did nothing with that felt unique. Luckily, the 3rd official entry has been announced at this year's E3, so fingers crossed that this will be the proper follow-up that we all originally expected. Number 6, Mighty Number 9. Consider this entry any Kickstarter video game that failed to deliver what was promised, but when it comes to Mighty Number 9, this truly can be seen as one of the worst of the absolute worst. Now, originally this was meant to be a spiritual successor to the legendary Mega Man series, as up until this point Capcom had put the franchise on ice, and the only times that it had paid reference to it, well, it wasn't very flattering. I mean, just look at Mega Man and Street Fighter Cross Tekken for evidence of that. So with Keiji Inafune at the helm, a staff of qualified devs, and a ridiculous amount of money raised through crowdfunding, what could possibly go wrong? Well, for a start, the team could start using that money raised to fund another project and put in insane goals of making animated TV shows and even movies before the game was even in alpha stages. But finally, when the game actually arrived in a playable state, there was so little to love about it that the fans responded with, "Ha ha ha, nice joke, Keiji, you goof, where's the real game?" Glitches ran rampant through the code, movement felt at once stiff and too loose to control with the precision, and we were left with a game calling itself a spiritual successor only because there was so little meat on the bones that it was basically just a ghost. Number 5. NIER AUTOMATA. The origins of the NIER series of games is something that should be a video in of itself, beginning life as a spin-off from the Drakengard series and evolving into one of the most bizarre and self-reflective action games that I've ever played. You know that something special is going on when the ending of the first game literally has you making a choice that will affect your real-world interactions with it. I won't spoil it, by the way, because it is that good and you should totally play it. But even then, when NIER AUTOMATA was announced, much like when your mum rocks up in a leather catsuit with the armpits cut out holding a marrow and a can of dog meat, no one has a real clue about what's going to happen next, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be tasty and fun. Don't judge me, alright? And also, that is my one per list. Action hack and slash sci-fi epic personal tale about what it means to be human top-down twin-stick shooter. This is a game that on paper should have clashed with its own ideas so much that it simply shouldn't have worked. Yet, it totally did. NIER AUTOMATA received mass critical acclaim for its ability to tell an engaging story while at the same time switching up its formula so often that you never got bored. With tons of different endings and a tongue-in-cheek comedy styling, there is literally something here for everyone. And I bloody loved it. Number 4. Spec Ops: The Line. So many people wrote this title off as just another war shooter when it was announced, and to be honest, you can't really blame them, seeing as when you looked at the stills and pre-release trailers, things looked very by the numbers. You've got your brown aesthetic, you've got your guns, you've got your fourth wall breaking moments to make you question the ethics of following orders. Wait a minute. What was that last one? Yes, that's one of the many, many surprises that Spec Ops: The Line was hiding up its sand-coated sleeve, offering the players some truly harrowing experiences of suffering and accountability on the front line. And it also included some scenes that broke the boundaries of what it is to be a game and almost confronted the player themselves. Now, it did help that the shooting and actual gameplay was better than expected as well, and while the sales of the game initially weren't as hot as the likes of Call of Duty or Battlefield, because of the word-of-mouth positivity this game received, it ended up garnering a cult-like status amongst the gaming community. If you've not played it, then give it a shot, as it is likely to surprise you. Number 3. DOKI Literature Club. Now, truth be told, I've never really been one for visual novel games, and I was fairly reticent to pick up DOKI Literature Club, mainly because of just how similar it looked to all of the other dating sim-style games on the market. And yet, there came the murmurs from friends and people who support the channel saying that I should definitely give it a go. And I am so glad I did, because this is not like anything I've played before. Things begin simple enough with all of the conventional tropes, but then with almost a maniacal grin, the game flips the switch and the narrative nosedives into psychological horror. Soon, you are overwhelmed with paranoia as the characters begin not to speak to your character, but to you, and this is only the beginning. As events escalate, you're left reeling at the game breaking the fourth wall in ways that seem so creepily accurate that you might want to stop playing. And yet, that's the actual appeal of Doki, to never trust anything that you're seeing. But at the same point, you are so compelled that you're not willing to put it down until you've beaten it. Or, in this case, until it beats you. Number 2. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. If you were to place Rainbow Six Siege side by side with any of the other Tom Clancy games, then this would stick out like a sore thumb. And you have to wonder what the team were smoking when they thought to break the formula that had served them so well with this new hero shooter direction. Now, if you're being a critic, you'd say that they were just trying to jump on a bandwagon of like-minded titles, but if you've actually played it, then you'll know it to be one of the most competent, in-depth, and tactical squad shooters out there. And here's the thing, this game totally took everyone by surprise, not only because of its meteoric rise in popularity as an online game, but also because it carries the Rainbow Six name and is somehow so different from the others that carry that description that it feels totally separate from the pack. Good job. And number 1, Metal Gear Solid 2. So let's say that you've had a smash hit game on your hands and that you've announced that a sequel is in development. Naturally, you'll probably follow the basic rules of improving the graphics, fleshing out some of the narrative threads introduced in the first game, and most likely give more weight to your main character. After all, it's this avatar that's allowed the player to dive into your title and has likely become a popular mainstream figure with the previous game's success. Now take all of that and imagine that you're Hideo Kojima. Of course he threw every last idea out of the window. After all, who would want to play as Snake? To hell with that idea, am I right? No, you're going to be playing as a new pretty boy operative who's initially about as likable as the idea of licking a dirty foot. Kojima knew exactly what he was doing though, teasing his captive audience with a demo that let you play as Snake, which actually only comprised of the first 15 minutes or so of the actual game. It was a tease that in retrospect was utterly brilliant, but at the time, ooh, if only you could have seen the fist shaking that me and my friends were doing at the screen when this game released. This little ruse definitely drew some ire from fans who didn't get what they were expecting, but at the same time, the game sold so well that we managed to get many more times to play as everyone's lovable grumpy super spy. Oh, and we also got that pseudo-apology that was Raiden's reinvention in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. And if you've not played that, then boy howdy you need to. And there we go, those were 8 times that video games didn't turn out quite like everyone was expecting. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, as well as any other choices that you might have, because I might return to do another commenters edition further down the line. Now, today, obviously, we were talking about things not turning out quite like you were expecting, and I would say that that's a very, very common part of life. Sometimes life can take you by surprise, and not always in a good way. But I just want to use this point of time at the end of this video to say that even if this does happen to you, even if you do feel like life has knocked you right between the nutsack, and just remember, you are not alone. It is okay to take a break. It is okay to treat yourself fairly, both mentally and physically. And if you need help getting back up again, then remember, there are support networks out there that you can get in touch with. Friends, families, support professionals, people care way more than you might realize. If you want to give me a follow, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter. And if you want to check out my new board game channel that I've got going, it's Live and Let's Dice, all one word, no punctuation, because I don't deal with that, yo! As always, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!